Welcome to the Dating After Divorce podcast. I'm your host, Shade Curry, and I believe every divorced woman deserves a romantic relationship where she feels safe, loved, and cherished. You can create the most amazing life after divorce, and I will teach you how. Hello. Welcome back to the Dating After Divorce podcast. I'm your host, Shade Curry, and it has been quite the year. 2025 has been quite the year. A lot of what I'm talking about with my clients right now is 2026. Like, everyone is really just done with 2025. And I feel like we've been saying that for like 4 years straight, or almost 5 years straight. Like, we're done with this year, we want the next year. And it is entirely possible, I'm just going to say this has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but it might be entirely possible that the way things are now is kind of the new normal. So I've been kind of noodling on that. I've been thinking about that, wondering how to increase my capacity to do what I want to do, to create my work, to fulfill my purpose in this climate. I think many of us have been waiting for this climate to shift, to move, to end before doing things. And I don't know if that's the best way to go, but that's a conversation for another day. Today we are talking just about 2026, and we are talking about how to stay focused if you're dating and what the biggest distractions are on your dating journey. Like, what if you find yourself on the start-stop, fireworks fizzle kind of journey, not necessarily with other people, but with yourself on your quest to find your person. I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about distractions. Now, there are plenty of podcasts out there, plenty of social media platforms that will tell you all about the red flags and all about, who to date, who not to date. And those things are, very important. But I'm also seeing as a pattern with a lot of my clients that they know all the things. You know what to date, how to date, you know how to use the apps, you know when a guy is good for you, you know when a guy is not good for you. You kind of know all the things, but then it's still not working. There's still this high expenditure of energy. There is still a sense of overwhelm. There's still a sense of not being able to stay focused. There's still a sense of, I'm doing it, but I'm not really doing it. I don't have time for this. I'm busy. That goes beyond just dating. So this goes beyond just the dating itself. It's a symptom of the bigger world that we're living in and the life stage that we're in. Many of us who are divorced and dating are a little bit older, late 30s, right? Most people divorce a little bit later in life, even though I have had a few podcasts guests and a few clients who have been younger than 35 or even in their 20s. So that's not to say that people younger don't get divorced. It's just most of the people that I'm having these conversations with are a little bit older, and it's a different slice of life. Right? You have a busy profession, you have a business, you're running a medical practice, you have children, whether they're younger or they're teenagers, you're thinking about other things you want to do in life, the legacy you want to leave, you are running your community. There's things going on beyond just dating. And those people who are successful with dating are the people who are able to say, this is just another adult activity that, not that I'm fitting into my life, because that's not the way we do it. That is a part of life. It's a part of life. And what happens when we don't have time, or when we get distracted, or when we feel overwhelmed, when we just can't get it done, things don't fit into the schedule, is that the whole life has not been designed in a way that works for you, right? And so that's kind of what I found. That's what I found in my life. And I found out that when I just figure out my life, who am I? What works for me? What do I really want versus what other people think I should be going after, what other people think I should want, the way other people think I should be doing things. When I let go of the outside noise and I focus in on who I am and my own values and my own goals, my real goals, when I'm connected to my true self, when I'm connected to my authentic self and I work and live from that place, I have plenty of time for the things I want to do. Like plenty of time for the things I want to do. Again, life is very different for everyone. So I am at a stage where my kids are older. They are young adults. But I have also been in the place, I actually started my coaching practice when my kids were teenagers, and they were very busy teenagers. Like my daughter was in the acting industry as a teenager, and there were times I remember one time we spent 6 weekends in a row driving from Missouri to the the lower border of Michigan. This town was, I think, Centerville, Michigan, I think is what it was called, somewhere there. It was like several hours to drive there because we didn't fly because the whole family had to go. All the people had to go for many different reasons. So it was like, okay. And this wasn't a paid gig either, but it was a career building gig for her. So we did it. Like I have been in that stage where I was working full time, had children at home, and was supporting them in their sports and schoolwork and things like that. And so there is a flavor of being focused that is available to you wherever you are. Okay? Some people are like, well, your kids are not in the home and they're adults now and they can do their own thing. Yeah, but I've also been in the other stages. And I also know what worked and what didn't work in those stages. And I know what works at every stage is your own values, is living by your own values. And I have always strived to live by my values, and it's a double-edged sword, because when you live by your own values, people are always going to look at you with a little bit of a side eye. What is she doing? What's going on here? But that aside, the goal here is to say, dating, if you really want to meet your person, isn't something that you can just put on the side. While you are dating, you have to be really clear on where your attention is going. So I want to start that conversation by talking about a Hawaiian spirituality principle called energy flows where your attention goes. I live by that. I love that principle so much, right? I heard it in like self-development circles, but I also know self-development circles are very sneaky about like just co-opting stuff. So before I started this episode, when I was drafting this episode, I looked it up. I was like, where did this come from? Who said it? I wanted to be able to give credit where credit was due. And I was very happy to find out that, okay, it came from an indigenous culture. And it's a spiritual principle. It's not just a self-development rah-rah statement. Energy flows where your attention goes. Like, I really want you to sit with that. We think that energy flows where we say we want it to flow. When we make a to-do list or when you set up your calendar, you're like, yes, my energy is going here. But there is this, if you are not very self-aware, if you have a hard time with self-reflection, looking inwards, if you have a hard time being able to see where things you're not directing things in your life without shaming yourself. A lot of the reasons why we can't, I'm just going all over the place right now, but a lot of the reasons why we can't do this work is because when we think about something we're doing that isn't perfectly right, many of us feel shame, and then that we feel attacked, and we attack ourselves, we feel bad about ourselves, we spiral out, and then the whole self-coaching, self-reflection practice falls apart, right? So if you are able to at least look inward without feeling bad about yourself, you can do this work of noticing where your attention is going. This is the very first step. So I used to take martial arts as an adult. I joined, my kids were taking martial arts, and their martial arts instructor was very charismatic, and he was the consummate salesman. Like, he would sell every member of the family on joining. And I did. It was a lot of fun. I loved it. It was very good for me. I left before I got my black belt, but I got into black belt training. So I was kind of up there before I left. And one of the kicks, I wasn't very good at breaking my boards, but I did break some. One of the ones I broke, and kind of with surprising ease, was actually quite a challenging kick. It was called the spin kick. So you're looking straight ahead. The board is behind you. You cannot see the board. And the goal was to start here, spin. So you lift, you start spinning, you spin with your leg in the air, and then you kick the board behind you. So it's like an attacker's coming up behind you. You can hear them coming, or you kind of see them to the peripheral, and you spin around and you kick them with the heel of your foot. And so that was the goal. And and when we're practicing and you're trying to learn it, and the instructors or junior instructors are like kind of trying to teach you. One of the junior instructors taught me a little, and she said it was a little trick, but it was actually the entire principle, which was make sure your eyes land on the board at least a split second before your heel lands on the board. And that is the perfect demonstration of this. And I got that. I was like, oh, I get that. Right? So as I practiced, I made sure my eyes were ahead of my leg, my foot, all the time as I practiced. So when we got to the testing, it was one of the ones where, usually when I tested, it was one of those funny things where it was like, oh my God, is she going to break her board? And usually the answer was no. But this time, I think my instructor was like, girl, like the board you're going to break is going to be the board that's one of the hardest ones to break, because most of the boards, they hold them sort of like this. So there's like some tension from the person who's holding it. This one with the spin kick, they hold it like this. So there's no pushback. There's no energy coming back to help you break the board. Like you either have to get it just right in the middle with just enough force to hit it or not. And I was just like, whoosh, and hit it. And I was like, the first step to successful online dating is your dating profile. Now, what if you could create a dating profile that makes all the difference to your online experience? Imagine having a profile so magnetic that quality matches stop mid-scroll to connect with you. The people you want to talk to you say, oh my God, I've got to talk to her. You want a profile that instantly communicates who you are at your core and attracts people who genuinely align with what matters most to you. So I want to share with you the Captivate dating profile system, where you'll learn how to create a profile that stops the scroll of the person who's a match for you, captures attention immediately with authentic value-based content, showcases your true self in a way that resonates with the man you want to talk to, and naturally filters out people who are mismatches before they waste your time. So I want you to check out the Captivate dating profile system at SadeCurry.com/dating. That's SADECURRY/dating. And for the price of dinner out, you can create the best dating profile ever. And when I say best dating profile, I mean it. It will be uniquely you so that you stop looking like every other woman on the apps. All right, go on over there and check it out. Yeah, it was great. But let's not talk about all the other boards before that I didn't break. So anyway, that was the whole principle, was that your energy, your physical energy, your mental energy, your emotional energy is going to go wherever your attention goes. And when you don't know this, I notice this with my clients, and it's just one of the, because it's such a sneaky, subconscious kind of flow, because your attention gets hijacked during the day. It gets hijacked by social media. It gets hijacked by people. It gets hijacked by something that triggers you. And if you're not aware that the minute your attention gets hijacked, your energy is flowing that way, you may still be physically moving in one direction, but your energy is going in a different direction. So I want you to start to think about, when you're dating, when you go on the app, or when you meet someone right now, whoever is in your DMs, whoever you're having conversations with, who are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? My clients who meet their people really quickly are the ones who never take their attention off the goal. Like, they're on the apps and they're talking to guys, or they're meeting people in person, or their guys are like pursuing them, or whatever the case is. But their attention is not on the guy. Their attention is on their vision. Their attention is on, what am I really trying to achieve here? Whenever a client comes to me and says, well, this guy said this, and therefore I already know it's over. Because their attention is now on what the guy said. Their attention is on what the guy wants. Their attention is what is going to get this guy's attention. Their attention is on what is going to make this guy like me. Their attention is on this guy and not on what they want. And so the goal with me there when I'm coaching them is always to bring them back. Your attention needs to be on what we call in my program, your 1% guy. Because for women like you who are, successful and like you have it together, you are doing all the things, A woman like you needs a guy who's like a 1% guy, because literally you are a 1% woman. You're a 1% woman, and so you're going to need a 1% guy, right? It's just the way it is. But if your attention gets hijacked by all the 99% guys that you will inevitably meet along the way, then your attention is no longer on your journey, and that's what wastes people's time. That's why year after year after year after year, you're not meeting the guy, or you're breaking up, or it fizzles. And when you go on social media, when you listen to a lot of dating coaches, they are talking about the guys. They're talking about the men. We already know all that. You already know all that. In my program, we don't talk a lot about men. We don't talk a lot about men and their characteristics and what they want and what they're looking for and all those things. A lot of our work is on the woman's vision. Like, is this vision right for you? And when it's crystallized and when I can get a client to focus on that vision, it's so easy for them to not be with the wrong guy. It's so easy because their attention is on the vision. So the minute something doesn't match the vision, they're out. Then they don't have to waste a whole bunch of time on that. Whatever is really on your mind is where your mental, emotional, and even physical energy is going to go, even if your actions don't look like that's what's happening. So when people tell me I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, I know that somewhere in here, their attention is on something else. They're frustrated about something else. They're in despair about something else, right? They're not in perfect alignment with their vision. So when you think about dating, whether it's time to date or the kind of people you're dating or your results with dating, I want you to think about where is your attention. Like right now, like just today, before you listen to this podcast episode, what were you thinking about? If you were thinking about the fact that you didn't have a partner and you've been trying so hard and all those things, now those things may be technically true. Like, I will never invalidate your true experience. Your true experience is what it is. But if your attention is on all the things that are not working in your dating journey, then your attention is also not on problem solving. Your attention is not on the opportunities you have. Your attention is not on how do I build my capacity? How do I create more opportunities? How do I improve the quality of the people that I'm dating? How do I move from this level of dating this level of guy to dating the next level of guy? And the key to that is to, first of all, become aware of where your attention is. Like, where is, and I can't do that. I can't get into your head and do that for you, right? I can't like just go in there physically and do it. It's something that I do together with my clients. Like, I'm asking the questions and going line by line. Like, this is a very focused process to be able to do that. Another example that I like to use with my clients is I call it the puppy versus rattlesnake dilemma. So imagine that you are, you're in a room. For those of you who like pets, think of the kind of animal you like. And if you don't like animals, I don't know, think of cotton candy. Whatever it is you love. The room is filled with the thing that you love. I like puppies. I like kittens. So I'm thinking of a room filled with puppies and kittens, and it's just delightful, and all the fur and petting and all that is going on. But now imagine that in the corner of this same room, there is a rattlesnake. It's a small one. It's a baby rattlesnake, but it's got a rattle. And you know, snakes have all the venom they're going to have when they're born. So a baby rattlesnake potentially will kill you faster than an old, decrepit rattlesnake, like, because they actually have more venom. If you are in that situation, it doesn't matter how much cotton candy is in the room. It doesn't matter how many puppies are in the room. It doesn't matter what wonderful thing is happening around you. Your eye is going to be on that rattlesnake. You're going to be looking at it. So there could be this whole wonderful experience that you could potentially have. You're not going to pay attention to that. There could be all of these opportunities for your next level and for your guy or a wonderful, easy, wonderful romantic experience. You're not going to pay attention to that because you're like, I don't care how wonderful this is. I need to make sure I'm not bit by that rattlesnake. Right? And that is the principle of your attention, of your energy and your focus flowing where your attention goes. And so if your attention is on the thing that does not create what you want, you won't create what you want. Sometimes I'm talking to my clients and we're doing the part of my program that is the partner profile, where we are developing their vision for their partner. And many women come to me and they're telling me, well, my ex was this way, so I don't want this. And my ex was a sales guy and I don't want a sales guy. My ex was an attorney and I don't want to, and so they're actively in the action of trying to create a partner profile. But their attention is on their past experience. Their attention is on their ex. Their attention is on what went wrong. And so let's say their ex had, 100 characteristics. So they are focused on the not my ex characteristics. And because of that, they miss the million of wonderful qualities that are available in the person who would be right to them. They miss even looking at their own values and their own experience and their own desire and their own vision and creating the life that's going to be right for them, because they're so focused on not having the same experience with their ex. And often when I've talked to women who come with that, what has happened before they start working with me is that they've had a series of experiences of people who were not their ex, but also not the right guy for them. Because their attention was just on, well, whatever is not the ex, but just because a person wasn't like your ex doesn't mean that person is right for you, right? What you want is to have your eyes and your mind and your thoughts and your energy and your attention and your actions. Everything has to come together in this strategy and plan and then movement that creates the thing that you actually want. Another example that might help is when you're working, right? Sometimes when you sit down to work on something, you want to write an article, you want to create a podcast, like even for me, because these are things that I use in my daily life every single day. I want to script a podcast. I want to write an article or write an email to my clients or whatever. And you're sitting at the desk in your office and you're doing something. You're supposed to be doing something. And you just find out that you can't get it going. You can't get started. You can't move it forward. You just feel stuck. That's the name for it, or whatever. That's generally what the catch-all term for that feeling. Next time that happens, I want you to ask yourself, what am I really thinking about? So let's say you were, I'm going to try and think of an example. Yes, here's a good one. So I have a client who is building a coaching business, right? And so we work on her procrastination and things that come up. And I remember one session where we were working on her business and we're talking about the procrastination that had happened before she started working with me and how long it's taking her to even be willing to come back and work on this. And she wanted my help with all of that. And I said, okay, well, what's been going on? And then come to find out, she's had this business before, but her ex-husband got involved in the business and basically created a lot of situations that ruined her reputation with clients. And so whenever she sat down to market or to sell or to create, even though at the forefront of her mind and what was on her calendar was, I'm going to do this, she would get there and she would feel stuck because unconsciously, subconsciously, wherever, somewhere in her mind, the pain of putting herself out there again after everything that had happened was what was really on her mind. And that anxiety and fear and shame and embarrassment and all those things were swirling. But she wasn't aware of it. She wasn't aware that that was what was holding. It wasn't like she was sitting there thinking about her ex and the things that had happened. That was just what was happening. That was where her attention was, even though consciously she wanted her attention here and she was trying and she thought her attention would be on this and she didn't understand why she couldn't move forward. And so she was like, well, maybe it's, the stage of life that I'm in and all these things. So if you're working on something or you're working on dating, and you're worried about what people are going to think about you. This is another one that I've run into where clients are worried what their friends are going to think about the person that they date. They're more worried about what their friends are going to think about the person that they date than they are about the experience they're going to have. Or if you're ruminating on what your ex did and all the things that happened and the fact that he's moved on and then there's this young girl that he's with and all of those things, that's what's kind of swirling inside. You're worried about the person that you have a date with on Friday, whether they're going to approve of you or disapprove of you or reject you. You're rehashing the last time someone ghosted you. You're practicing the text message you're going to send to that guy to tell him what's what. All of that is where your attention is going. Even though on the surface you think you're dating, on the surface you think you're creating a new relationship, on the surface you think you're doing all these things, your attention is really going to something else. And when that happens, you won't have enough capacity to bring your goal to life. When that happens, you'll be exhausted. Sometimes people wonder why they're so exhausted, even though they haven't gotten the important things in their lives done. They didn't bring their goals to life. Like they look at past 2025 and it's like a lot of the things I wanted to get done didn't get done. It's because you were expending a lot of mental and emotional energy on the things that were taking up your attention, not on your actual goals. And I'm not going to dive really deep into this today, but when you're socialized as a woman to focus on relationships, which many of us were, relationships can be a bigger distraction than actual logistics, actual physical, taking the kids here and there, working, getting things done. What's going on in here about our relationships, phone calls that we're taking and boundaries that need to be set, that we do, all those things to do with relationships. I have realized through coaching hundreds of women that is a huge source of distractions for women. But I'll probably talk about that on a separate podcast episode, like the sources of the distraction. Right now, this is just a general thing about like where is your attention really going? Right. So now when I'm working, when I want to create a podcast episode, when I want to create a program or whatever, and I find that there's a gap between the energy that I have towards it and my desire for it, I'm like, that means my attention is somewhere else. What is that? And I just take the time to figure out where that is. And I either redirect or I resolve it. I mean, there are all kinds. I have a ton of tools that I use to examine where my attention is and then to take my attention and consciously direct it. And this is not a willpower kind of a thing. It's a conscious direction based on working through whatever I need to work through. I stop. I always I don't even try to stress myself. I don't get down on myself. I don't beat myself up. I don't start to criticize myself for having a gap, because that's just how the human brain works. That's how we are designed. We're designed to focus on problems and fix them, because our brain just believes that problem is going to kill you. So whatever I need to do sometimes I don't resolve the problem physically. I resolve it through coaching my mind and reframing it or creating a new perspective or a new direction. There's all kinds of tools. Sometimes it's postponing it consciously. There are all kinds of ways to do that, but it needs to be done. Otherwise, my energy isn't freed up to think through the actual work that I want to do, to think through the places I want to connect with, the places I want to go, things I want to do, people I want to connect with. If my energy is tied up with someone over here because of something that's happening, something chaotic is going on, it is really, really hard to have emotional energy available for connection with somewhere. And so making sure that your attention is consciously directed in a way that feels good. This is not a disciplinary kind of thing where you're disciplining yourself to do that. No, that it just doesn't work either. Making sure your attention is directed in the place to the things that you actually want to accomplish is key to achieving your goals. So what I would like to offer you, if this sounds like something that you're like, yeah, I would love to curate my attention for 2026. Whether it's your attention for dating, your attention for wrapping up your divorce or strategizing your divorce, or even for other areas of your life, my consultation calls, which you've heard me talk about so many times on the podcast, have changed to what I'm calling a life momentum planning session. And I'm doing these for people who want to use these methods in 2026. So over the next 2 weeks, before the Christmas holiday rolls around, I am making these single 90-minute life momentum sessions available. And this is happening now, right? Because we're going to wrap these up by probably a few days before Christmas. So I've opened my calendar to make those available. So if you would like to become aware of where your attention is going, if you want to set your goals for 2026 in a way that is sustainable, in a way that you will actually be able to create the life you want, create the love you want, create the dating experience you want, create the impact project you want, create the business you want, without stressing. That's the key. The key is when your attention is flowing where you want it to go, you're going to be able to do the thing without stress. And this is not to say you need to ignore the people that you love. We all love people, and relationships can be messy. Okay, so this is not to say now you got to cut everybody off, cut everyone out of your life so that you don't you can focus. No, that's not it either. None of these things is this cut and dried, very linear, stiff, harsh kind of thing. Unless it's your toxic narcissistic ex, and then we deal with that person appropriately. Other than that, your conscious direction of your attention is something you do internally. It's not about telling people, well, don't talk to me now and don't do, no. It's about internally, you're directing your attention. You are creating things in your mind and you are curating your energy inside your body so that automatically it flows to the thing that you want. And that can happen in so many ways. So if this sounds interesting to you, I have a lot more detail about this method on my consultation page. You can just go to shadecurry.com/info. That's SADECURRY.com/info. And you can grab one of the limited sessions that is available and you can read all of this. All of the things that go into the Life Momentum Method, you can read about it and see if that sounds like it's something that's going to fix some of the gaps that you've had in your execution this year. In the execution of your goals, in the execution of your goals at work, in the execution of your parenting. Were you able to create the time and the connections that you wanted in your relationships with your children, in your relationship with your friends, in your community, in your money? Like all the things that you set out at the beginning of the year to accomplish, was your energy hijacked along the way? Was your attention hijacked along the way? If it was, then you really, really want to learn this method. And the beauty about this is that this is a one-time session, right? So it's not like my private coaching, which is 6 months. And if you're interested in that, of course, we can talk about that as well. However, this is one session, 90 minutes, where you can really explore this idea that you can take more powerful control of your ability to implement and execute on your goals, dating or otherwise, with these tools. So I want you to check that out. See where your attention is going. And even just if practicing that during the day today, after you listen to this, like, where is my attention going? What am I thinking about? That's it. It's metacognition. You're thinking about what you're thinking about and you're going deeper, right? So not just on the surface. Like right now, I am thinking about recording this podcast episode, but there are several layers of what I'm thinking about that are happening at the same time that I am recording this podcast episode for you. So check that out, shadecurry.com/info. I want to thank you guys for your time and attention. As always, I have appreciated you hanging with me this year. I love hearing from you all of the time. And if you have enjoyed this podcast episode, please leave a review on whatever platform that you are listening to this on. And I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening today. If you are ready to get married after divorce, I want to invite you to download my free 8-video training specifically designed to help divorced women date with ease and get married again. Head over to shadecurry.com to get started. That's SADECURRY.com. I'll see you inside.